I bet you didn't expect that the most expensive machine gun ever sold in the United States was this, an FN Minimi. Thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum, and I'm here today at Morphy's with, indeed, the most expensive machine gun ever to sell at public auction, or public sale, in the US ever. And it is an FN Minimi, aka an M249 saw. And this particular one is factory documented to have been produced just shortly before the Hughes Amendment took effect in the US. Now, that by itself doesn't prove anything specifically, but this is actually registered as a transferable gun, which means anybody can own it. As long as you can pass a background check to own any other sort of regular firearm, you can own a transferable machine gun in the US. That's how the legal aspect of the system works. However, after 1986, there was a prohibition on registration of new transferable guns. So after '86, new guns that were being registered could only be owned by machine gun dealers. And so the supply was cut off, and the supply has slowly but steadily shrunk over the decades, while the number of people who are potentially interested in owning machine guns has grown. As a result, transferable guns have gotten more and more valuable. But this really took it over the top. This sold at Morphy auctions in September of 2023 for $490,000, the actual bid price. When you add Morphy's 20% buyer's fee to that, that means the buyer actually paid $588,000 for this FN Minimi. And I'm filming this before it's actually shipped out to him, so we have it here to take a look at. So what on earth would make a Minimi worth over $500,000? Well, the one thing that this gun has particularly going for it is that it is well known to be the only transferable FN Minimi or 249 saw on the entire registry in the US. And the way the law is set up, there will never be another one. So if you want a transferable saw, it's this one. And that's certainly what drove the price, largely what drove the price as far as it did. Now, the gun also, of course, has fantastic collector appeal because this is a key part of U.S. military small arms. This is what the U.S. military has been using for past decades. When you think about the war on terror, the Gulf Wars, Afghanistan, Iraq, all of that fighting, the U.S. was armed with M249s, Minimis. And so it's very relevant to U.S. military history, and that's what a lot of the firearms collecting interest is based on. You know, what were people using at significant elements in history? So yeah, there are some people who will look at this and go, well, it's, you know, black and plastic, and so how could it possibly be historical? Well, the answer is you'll find out in 100 years when it's extremely desirable, rare, you know, and people look at it the way we look at a 1918 BAR today. Like, wow, that's the gun that they were using when they did all of that stuff. So I understand the collector appeal for sure, and it's a fun gun to shoot. It's an exciting gun to shoot. Machine guns are a lot of fun, so I understand that as well. But the outlandish level of pricing that this got to really kind of boggles my mind. There are three major types of people who are buying machine guns in the US, and I would say they are collectors, they're investors, and they're speculators. So I'm not sure which. I don't know who the buyer of this thing is. Congratulations to you, by the way, if you're watching this, because you certainly got a one-of-a-kind gun, and you obviously wanted it very badly and paid an incomprehensible to me amount of money for it. But collectors are buying machine guns because of their specific historical interest. And the price is relevant because, can I afford it? Do I think that the gun's worth that? Am I willing to pay that to get this? But they're not being, collectors aren't the people buying guns to try and make money on them. They're trying to buy a gun because it's a good deal, because they can afford it. But that's the extent to which the price matters. The investors are the people who are buying guns planning to sell them down the road. They're the people looking at machine guns and saying, oh, you know, look at this. The supply is fixed and slowly declining as guns inevitably break or get lost. The market is increasing. The demand is increasing. There are more people every year who are interested in this sort of thing. I can buy it now for X dollars, and I can sell it in 10 years for 2 or 3X dollars, I bet. and it's better than putting my money in a bank account or putting it in the stock market, I will put it in a machine gun. Those are the investors. I don't really see an investor buying this for this amount of money. Like buy low, sell high is the investment mantra. Buy for a literal world record price for anything in the entire category that you're looking at. That's not the way to get in on a sound investment. Maybe this thing will go up, but I have a hard time believing it'll go up. It's such a rarefied atmosphere already, and such an incredibly large amount of money. And then you've got speculators, who are the people who are going to buy it now specifically to flip it. People who say, that's a really good deal, I can arbitrage that thing. Like, I can buy it right now for X, and I can sell it for 1.5X and make a quick buck. And those are the people who don't necessarily have any particular interest in machine guns. They don't want to keep it. Frankly, they're some of the people who would prefer that our machine gun laws stay the way they are instead of reopening so that we don't, destroy historic collectibles just because they didn't get registered 75 years ago. But I digress. I can't see, this clearly is not a speculator's purchase, because there is no way that the world record price selling machine gun is going to be something that you can turn around and flip tomorrow for a profit. It's interesting that there had to be at least two people who wanted this gun badly enough. Like, the winning bid was $490,000. It's still mind-boggling for me to say that out loud. The winning bid was $490,000, which means someone else bid $480,000 or $475,000 or whatever the previous increment was. So someone wanted it for $480,000 worth, and someone else wanted it $10,000 more than that and won it. And I don't know, there may have even been a third or a fourth person involved in the bidding as well, but I thought it was worth taking a quick look at this. Like, people ask, what's the machine gun market like? Well, some of it's high, some of it's low, and some of it is just utterly mind-boggling. Like, I don't get this one. So the other thing that makes this interesting to me is that whoever bought this wasn't the only way that they could get their hands on a legal FN Minimi, because we do have this tiered system of machine gun ownership in the US, where if you have a license as a machine gun dealer or manufacturer, you can get guns that are called dealer samples. They're guns that were registered after 1986 that cannot be owned by a general random person, but they can be owned if you have a license. And a license to deal in or manufacture machine guns isn't that difficult to get, especially if you're willing to just shell out some money. You can set up the facilities and say, yeah, I am now going to start a business as a manufacturer of machine guns. That's something you can just do. You don't have to get a whole lot of special permission to do it. You send in a form to ATF and apply for the license. And typically the sort of person who can blow $588,000, more than $500,000 on one gun like this, has plenty of opportunity to set themselves up as a machine gun manufacturer under the law. And then they can buy a dealer sample Minimi. And dealer sample Minimis are out there, and they cost, I don't remember exactly, but on the order of 1/20th as much as this. They're still really expensive guns. A dealer sample Minimi, because it is very desirable and very cool, and there aren't that many of them floating around, is still going to cost you kind of as much as a run-of-the-mill typical transferrable machine gun that's a lot more common. But, you could have literally bought 20 of these things, if you could find them all, for the price of this one transferable one. And so one of the things that is odd to me, like, I don't understand the mentality of the buyer here. Why didn't they do that? Unless there's some weird circumstance, or they just don't want to have that sort of license. I don't know. Maybe it was a combination of a collector and an investor. Or maybe it was just someone who has so much money available that $600,000 just wasn't that important to them. If that's true, and if that person's you, and if you need an adoptive heir, let me know, and we can talk about all sorts of fun machine gun things. But I digress. Anyway, I've been kind of rambling here a bit. Like I said, I had the opportunity to take a look at this. It's a really cool gun, but is it worth over $500,000? curious to see if anything else will ever break this record anytime soon. I will point out this sold for 6 figures more than any FG-42 has ever sold for in history. And prior to this, like, that was the most expensive machine gun out there. There are even some guns out there that have like really cool, impressive, one-of-a-kind historical provenance. There's a BAR out there that was presented specifically to Eisenhower. There is, I believe there's an M16A1 that was owned by JFK. And those guns, like, I don't think either of those guns broke $100,000, much less $588,000 out the door. So, anyway, that's all I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.